Worldview Radio with Brandon House.
Welcome. Glad you're with us. I have no idea what to talk about today. There's virtually nothing going on, folks. All is right with the world. It's pretty much a boring news day. There's nothing happening. I'm just kidding, you guys. Don't you wish I would come on one day and say that? There is nothing to report today. Everything is going swimmingly. No. You guys want to hear some of these headlines before Shahram Hadian joins us? New York Attorney General criminalizes opposing Islamic terrorism. Oh! Shocker. Letitia James. Here's another headline. Senior Iranian official calls for jihad terror attacks across America. Quote, arson attacks, burning people, gunning down people in the streets, running over a mother and her daughter with a car, end quote. What is that all about? Well, apparently they're calling for all kinds of terrorist attacks all across the U.S. Now, we'll see if it comes to fruition. I don't know. But this is, again, the evil of Iran, the government, not the people who want to be free, so many of them. Okay, here's another headline. Ready? This is from Israel 365. Catholic Church, this would be the Catholic leadership. We're not condemning all Catholics. By the way, to my Catholic listening friends, we have just as many problems in the Protestant world. So I'm not picking on you. I spend more of my time talking about the Protestant evangelical churches because that's what I am. And, you guys have your problems, we have ours. But here you go. Catholic Church condemns Christian Zionism as damaging ideology that threatens church unity. What church unity? The unity inside the Catholic Church? Well, that would then imply that you have some members who are Christian Zionists. Well, to my Catholic friends again, don't worry. Don't be of little courage, because we have the same thing going on in the Protestant world in our so-called lack of unity. And one of the divisive issues is the Jews. Well, isn't that interesting? The Bible said that they would be a stumbling block for so many, wouldn't they? So many evangelical Christians feel isolated, marginalized, characterized, many Christian Zionists within the evangelical camp. And apparently there are some Catholics that are Christian Zionists, because the Catholic Church, at least some of its leadership, I should say, is saying that the whole issue of Christian Zionism is a damning ideology that's threatening church unity, which that would imply that there are some people inside the Catholic Church that are Christian Zionists. Isn't this interesting? With the rise of the embrace of Islam, you can't criticize Islam. Remember the headline we just read from Front Page Mag about Letitia James, Attorney General of New York. But you can criticize the Christian and the Jew, the Christian Zionist, all you want. Here's another headline. Anti-Semitism in the U.S. comes from all sides, more dangerous than ever. That just happens to be in the Jerusalem Post today. These are all brand new articles, folks. And then on top of that, we have the Protestant leaders in America embracing Islam. We have Catholic leaders embracing Islam. It sounds like to me that we're headed for a one world interfaith dialogue that will produce a one world religion. And yet today at the World Economic Forum, Davos, Lupnick, he's the Commerce Secretary, I believe. He's saying globalism is basically dead, right, guys? Do I got that right? Globalism is basically dead. Really? How many of you buy that? I don't. In fact, Ursula with the European Union got up today at the World Economic Forum in Davos and said that we're going into a new era. And just as Nixon closed the gold window in the early 70s, and that was a real transformative event with the petrodollar. We're going, and with the dollar as this global status after World War II that became the petrodollar because Nixon closed the gold window, had to go back. It was something, I think that happened around 1973. She said all of that was very transformational. And what's coming is going to be the same thing. Well, that's interesting. I have an article over at Forbes magazine that will be in my Worldview report tonight. Forbes magazine, brand new article over there about tokenization of everything. The $80 billion shift hitting Wall Street, tokenization of everything. We've been talking about that now for about 3 years, haven't we? It seems like a one world economy, a one world religion is all lining up. They just need a one world government, and they're trying to figure that out. They're trying to figure out the one world government. And I don't know. It seems like to me, President Trump is helping to build the North American Union. Looks like the technate map of the 1930s. We have the talk of grabbing Greenland, the talk of Canada. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's all very interesting. I can understand some of it from a national security standpoint, apparently. Certainly, we want to go with the Monroe Doctrine and keeping our enemies from building military bases and camps in our hemisphere. I agree with President Trump on that. But it does seem as though we're moving quickly to the things set up in the Bible. And let's get to that today with Shahram Hadian. Shahram, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it so much.
Before we go to the issues that I just mentioned, I want to get your response quickly on the latest related to Iran. Oh, also in my Worldview Report newscast tonight, I have an article that states that the Iranian regime may have used toxic chemical substances to kill wounded protesters. So many of them have died. I think even their own official numbers is over 12,000. But we're getting reports that many of them were poisoned. Now, we're also hearing that President Trump said that he had heard from a good source that the killings and hangings have been postponed. Now we're finding out that that's not the case. The young man that was the first one, I guess, arrested during all this, I don't think he was hung. We're getting conflicting reports, but the latest I hear is that he was beat to death. He didn't even make it to a hanging, if that is, again, the report. It's coming out of there. It's contradictory to other reports, but apparently that seems to be the issue. But nothing still. I know the USS Abraham Lincoln has moved into the region now. I read that today. But what's most shocking is that we have one of the leaders of Qatar saying that we basically convinced President Trump not to attack Iran. Now, I put it more bluntly and straightforward, but they put it in more diplomatic language, did they not?
They did. Their diplomatic language was that we gave the president our best advice. And our best advice was that we believe in a diplomatic solution with this, with Iran, meaning the Islamic Republic and the clerical leadership. So we have to have the wisdom to read between the lines. We have to remember that last week, if you remember when I was on radio with you when I was in Boise, Idaho, that they're using that base. They're going to be building that base in Boise, Idaho, but yet Qatar said you will not use our base to strike Iran if you're going to carry out a strike. Now we find out that that was probably preceded by the conversation of, quote, their best advice. So how much does that best advice influence the administration? I mean, the president was directly asked that, did they convince you? And he said, no, it was my decision. Okay, but you got to wonder when you have trillions of dollars flowing in from the Qataris, the influence over our lobby, the influence over our universities, the influence over our media, both right and left, all of it, I believe that there was a strong influence of why the president did not act. And bottom line, in my opinion, Brandon, the Bible says, let your yes be yes, let your no be no. I would have been fine if the president initially said, we're not going to go in, we're not going to get involved, we're just not going to do it. It's up to the Iranian people, it's up to other countries, we're not. But when you say multiple times, not just once, multiple times, we're lock and loaded, if they kill you, they're going to pay a price. Go take the protest, go in the streets, occupy the institutions, help is on the way. When you say those type of things, and thousands of people have died because of it, because of the inaction, then I think that bears judgment upon our nation for our leader not letting his yes be a yes, and there being blood on our hands as a country now because of our false promises.
All right, 100% concerning, is it not? Qatar having this much influence, and we say we're coming, we're going to help, no help arrives in time, 12,500 plus dead. This is very troubling. And well,
Brandon, real quick to your numbers there, two things we have to remember. One is the number of reports that have come from videos of the hospitals where you see people in body bags that have catheters in them, tubes in them. They have the if you go do an EKG, they monitor your heart. They have the little stickers on them, and they were shot in the head. So the regime is shooting people in the hospitals. They're denying care. You have somewhere between 3,000 and 6,000 people have been blinded by being shot in the eyes, or potentially from chemical. And I think that gives credence to what you're reporting about the use of chemical weapons. And this is also, in my opinion, probably not shocking, because when you import a bunch of Arab Muslim militias from Iraq, and that was the MO of the Iraqis, right? Remember, they gassed their own people under Saddam? Maybe that's the same MO that they're now employing to kill the Iranian people, because these Arab militias absolutely hate the Iranians, and that's the only way the regime can be propped up right now.
And yet, where are the protests? Where are the leftists?
Right.
On human rights, on women being abused, children being abused? Nothing. Silence. Because the Jews aren't involved. The Jews aren't involved.
Yeah. No Jews.
I'm sure they're going to find a way to blame it. They're already claiming it was the Jews up on the roofs with the rifles blinding these people and shooting them. You know that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're claiming that it was all Mossad. The Mossad agents, they're the ones who are doing the killings. They actually killed the people. They're trying to provoke us. And I mean, it's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable, the sickening level of demonic hatred that there is from people who are just, and again, it's easy to be able to, at this point, dismiss a Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson, but this is happening, Brandon, in evangelical. I told you last week, I'm watching my social media. I'm watching all those people that were attacking me and you and others for standing with the nation of Israel, for saying that we are indeed Christian Zionists, that we believe in biblical scriptural Zionism. They were attacking us. Israel is an apartheid state. Israel is a terrorist state. Israel is a genocidal state. Nothing, not one person has posted one thing about Iran that I can see.
We come back. We are going to get to what some of the leadership in the Catholic Church is saying about Islam as well as Christian Zionism. But when I come back, I want you to respond to the story. Memory TV, top Iranian official said Iran should capture Trump like the U.S. captured Maduro. This savage yellow dog must pay the price, that's what he said. Sabotage, arson, and car ramming can be carried out in every U.S. state and city. Folks, I don't know if they'll do it, but I'm telling you, you better have situational awareness. We'll be right back.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity, all from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System, because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Glad you are with us. I'm just texting with our reporter on the ground in Israel, Aaron Lavarco. He has breaking news. I'll get to that in just a minute. But here's Memory TV. As I said, top Iranian official is stating that it's okay now. To the Iranian terror cells and whatnot to be involved in sabotage, arson, car ramming in every state and city in the U.S. Now, again, I don't know how seriously they'll take it if this guy actually has the authority to call for this, to give them the go. I don't know. But I would think people should definitely be aware, even including, I guess, burning people. Of course, we know that throwing acid on people, burning people, including arson, burning people, gunfire in the streets, and car ramming could now be carried out on U.S. soil in every state and every city and would be permissible, he said. Jerome, your thoughts?
First response is, again, not surprising as far as what have been concerned about with the tactical aspect of them mobilizing their cells. So if the call comes out, to me, that communicates, again, desperation of the regime, number one, that when they get to that point, they're ready to burn the house down. And so it's not bad enough that they're going to burn Iran down and kill as many Iranians as they can, but now the attacks are coming. I'm sure you covered this, but people probably did not see the headline about the Muslim who shot and killed 3 tourists at Disney World.
Covered it, about 30 minutes from Disney World. We covered it last night on the World Report. These 2 of them were brothers, and then one of their friends. Another gentleman had already left. They were not supposed to be there at the time. Their car broke down, so they had to have an extended stay. And the sheriff made it very clear, the police officials or sheriff, whichever it was, made it very clear that there was no altercation. The man had no contact with the 3. They did not know each other. It was just this crazy guy who had been shooting at cars in the past and was let go under a deal of pleading insanity. So they let a crazy man out who had a passion for shooting people randomly, and they're shocked that he shoots people and murders them this time randomly.
And his name happens to be Ahmad Jihad Bojai.
Yeah, but you don't want to pay attention to the jihad part or you'll be an Islamophobic.
Exactly. Because again, the blindness of law enforcement in this country that has been systematically neutered to not be able to actually look at ideology as motivation, look at when they shout Allah Akbar. So, by the way, didn't Tucker Carlson say something like...
I don't know anyone's ever been killed by these terrorists or Hamas.
In the last 24 years, isn't that what he said? Last 24 years, there's not been a terror attack, Islamic terror attack in America. I mean, this is getting to the point of just lunacy. It's just lunacy. It's just, it's a absolute depraved lunacy that these people are in. But, you know, before the break, you were talking about the silence. The silence is what is so indicative of the spirit of the age and the deception that is upon most of the church. And the aspect that the Iranian regime that we keep talking about. So again, go back to Qatar, go back to the Saudis. They keep talking about diplomacy. So if the leader of that, if the regime keeps saying, we're going to kill Trump, and not only are we going to kill Trump, but we're going to kill as many Americans as possible, I think we take them at their word. And I think because of that, you preemptively act. Oh, by the way, had we allowed Israel and the
finish the job?
Finish the job back in June of last year, the plane was on the way to take out Ali Khamenei.
And Trump says he saved his life. Trump brags he saved his life.
He did. I saved his life. He owes me.
And in fairness to President Trump, not that the whole regime hinges on one man, because the IRGC would still be in charge. And I think at that point, they actually had been given all the authority.
Yeah, well, his son. His son is the successor. So he's got his son there who is, you know, could rule for another 20, 30 years if they had it. So you're right. But we know that Mossad, I guarantee you, Mossad knows the names of not just who was on the top of the list that they took out last June, but who are the successors. They have the list of secondary, tertiary leaders. And so that is the type of pinpoint attack that you need to take out the leadership. You also should be taking out right now targets in Iraq, in Afghanistan, where these militias are coming from. And oh, by the way, what just happened in Syria, Brandon? Where Jelani's forces let out a bunch of ISIS
people, yep.
people. Where do you think those people are going to end up? Either in the West, in Europe, or in America, or probably on the battlefield like in Iran if they're needed.
Yep.
So our special forces could target, no boots on the ground,
yep.
just target those areas.
Yep.
But if we don't take this seriously, because Trump is placating the Qataris and all the money that's coming over from the Emirates and the Saudi, we are sitting ducks in this nation. I take the Iranians. Yes, they lie. Yes, they bolster. I think their real capability, but I don't doubt their desperation. They're desperate, and this is the most dangerous time.
Now, let's go to another topic. We'll get to the breaking news I just received from our reporter, Aaron, in Israel. There are reports that I joked about yesterday because we here and you kind of got a taste of it living now over in Knoxville. When there's the even threat of snow. The first flurry hasn't even fallen. The threat of snow, it is like 24/7 news. They just hype it up as big as they can, and everyone runs to get the milk and the eggs and bread. And so most of us, particularly those who have lived in other parts of the country that have seen real snow and got used to it, don't get all caught up in the hype. But with that little caveat and disclaimer, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, there does appear to be a very big storm coming toward the end of the week, Friday into the weekend, for about half the country. Now, I want to just reiterate, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not a weatherman. I don't think the weathermen know half the time what's going to happen until it is about an hour away. But a lot of these meteorologists that I follow on X are now, and of course the National Weather Service and others, are giving us maps. And the map in itself is very interesting and ties right into our conversation about America, Israel, the division in the evangelical world, the division in the Catholic world, the division in America in general. Because Joel 3, I'm angry with you because you divided my land. And now we have this idea of we're going to get Qatar and Turkey involved in the board to deal with Gaza. And Benjamin Netanyahu's like, what? Excuse me? So we're now dividing their land, apparently, setting something up. And we go back to the idea that not all of this comes to pass every time, but we have things we should look at to say, are we going to see, because of this, God choose to do something to our country, as an example? And when you look at the map of this storm, and I don't know if the storm will happen, and I don't know what it'll be, but if you go look at the map of the storm, it literally divides half the country. And you see a massive amount of red, of which we're in. We're now making plans to be without power. They are warning people, you could be without power for days. We'll see. Thankfully, we have the generators and all that good stuff to keep us going and on the air, Lord willing. And again, I'm going to throw out the disclaimer. We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe nothing happens. But I would not be shocked to continue to watch for natural disasters, division, churches being interrupted, and division in America as we see people trying to divide Israel. Now, with that, we have the breaking news from Aaron. Aaron, our reporter on the ground in Israel, has just reported Trump's new board of peace, he put quotes around board of peace, doesn't mention Gaza, Palestinians, or reconstruction at all. Instead, the charter, I don't know if you can look it up while I'm reading this, Logan and Sharam. Instead, the charter focuses on member states, leaders, and voting procedures. According to the document, each country gets a 3-year free trial, but $1 billion buys you a permanent seat at the table. Yeah, we heard about that. And who holds the power to interpret the charter, dissolve the board, and appoint his own successor? The chairman, of course, Donald J. Trump. This is coming from Aaron, who's quoting Amit Segal, who says, so yes, it looks a lot less like a reconstruction plan for Gaza and a lot more like a demolition of the United Nations. Is this why Lupnick at the World Economic Forum today is bragging that globalism is over? And why the Treasury Secretary is being pretty bold and pounding his chest as well? I'm no fan of the global order of the UN. You know that. I know that.
Right.
Our audience isn't either. But sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. What is this going to set up? I don't know. If Donald Trump was out of Europe and he was doing all this out of Europe,
yeah.
If he was but he's not out of Europe, he's in the U.S., then you know what I would be thinking right now.
You were reading my mind. Yeah, you were actually reading my mind. I was thinking the same thing.
And when he decides to put together a 10 board, when the members of this board turn out to be 10 representatives from 10 regions of the world, the 10 horns are 10 kings. Okay, I'm joking a little bit, but I'm not. This is getting really interesting, Shahram.
No, absolutely. Well, you said earlier that we have the spiritual conditions for the deception of the one world religion. With Islam, I've argued that Islam is right in the center of all that deception because the globalists seem to somehow love Islam and it's the ideology of choice. But so we're having that set up. They're setting up the one world economy, all of the tokenization, digitization, the control mechanism with regards to surveillance, AI, then the movement towards governance. Well, everybody presumes that it's the United Nations that would lead that globalization. But the interesting thing is that we know that, number one, the largest entity in the UN that controls the UN is the Islamic world, the OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation. And now out of that, if this Board of Peace, as you're saying, is going to be a substitute for the UN, and on it is going to be all these Islamic countries, along with the United States. Man, I mean, remember, Brandon, when Trump was elected, you had rabbis in Israel saying that the gematria of his name, the numerical value of his name in the Hebrew alphabet, he has the same number as what they consider to be the Mashiach ben David, the Messiah. Well, we obviously know that he is not the Messiah. We know that the Messiah has come and is coming again in the person of Jesus Christ. But that lets you know the level of deception we're dealing with right now.
Amit Segal, who I've got up on X right now, is writing about this quite a bit. We're going to get into more of this with Aaron, hopefully tonight for Brandon House Live. He says something is interesting. He says he's not a fan of the UN either, never mind. But he says Trump's grudge against the UN is long-standing, dating back to the early 2000s when he lost the bid to renovate the UN headquarters. I did not know that. I don't even know if that's true, but it would be so accurate for Donald Trump. I hate the UN, not because it's globalist, but because they didn't do what I wanted them to do. All right, we'll be back with more. Let's get into the Catholic Church and Christian Zionism.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. So I just confirmed Aaron LaBarca, our reporter on the ground, will be on tonight for Brannon House Live on this story related to the Gaza document. And I don't know if you got a chance to look over and read it or not, Sharam, but you'd be welcome to join us if you want. Let's go right away to what we talked about at the beginning, and that is the Catholic Church. This is Israel 365 News. Catholic Church condemns Christian Zionism as damaging ideology that threatens church unity. The Catholic Church and its allied denomination, Jerusalem, just declared war on Christian Zionism. In a statement released January 17th, the patriarchs and heads of churches in the Holy Land, led by the Roman Catholic hierarchy, along with Eastern Catholic, Orthodox, and traditional church leaders, condemned Christian support for Israel as a damaging ideology. Well, then why don't they get out of the Holy Land then? That misleads the public and harms unity. The statement represents the Catholic Church's most direct assault yet on the millions of evangelical Christians whose biblical interpretation leads them to support the Jewish state. The Catholic-led coalition opened with the bold assertion of ecclesiastical authority. I won't bother reading that. Then came the condemnation. Quote, recent activities undertaken by local individuals who advance damaging ideologies such as Christian Zionism. And by the way, I have a brand new book out, my friends. It's called Why I'm a Christian Zionist. I should send it to the Pope. Mislead the public, sow confusion, and harm the unity of our flock. These undertakings have found favor among certain political actors in Israel and beyond who seek to push a political agenda. Really? Which may harm the Christian presence in the Holy Land and the wider Middle East. The statement, as end quote, the statement invoked New Testament authority to attack Christian Zionists. The Holy Scripture teaches us that even though many are one body in Christ and individually members of another body, Romans 12:5, to claim authority outside the commune of the church is to wound the unity of the faithful and burden the pastoral mission entrusted to the historic churches in the very land where our Lord lived, taught, suffered, and rose from the dead. Well, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I do. I have a whole series. It's called Why I'm a Christian Zionist, 1 hours from the Bible in context. And it is a book, and you don't need to buy it. It's a part of the vault, if you're a member, at worldviewtube.com/vault. Sharam, respond to this before we go to another one of their proclamations about Islam.
Well, two things need to be defined. So again, I highly encourage people to get your book and write and educate themselves on what is Christian Zionism, biblical Zionism, which is different than global or political Zionism. We, as Christians, believe that Zion, which is God's name for Jerusalem and the land that He has given, there's a promise of a renewal. There's a promise of a rebirth. There's a promise that the nation would be rebirthed in the last days. So ultimately, believing in God's word and what is to come, we have to understand that Christian Zionism is founded upon the fact that God is simply keeping His promise to renew the Jewish people into a homeland. They would become a nation, and that nation in unbelief, again, Ezekiel 37 tells us that at first they're in unbelief, then ultimately the end of the tribulation period, they come to belief. So, and that's a rudimentary definition. But the second thing we have to understand, Brandon, how many people do not know that the Catholic Church is vehemently replacement theology? Mm-hmm. They're vehemently supersessionist. They believe that the church has replaced Israel. Number two, so we're talking about how many Catholics are in the world? 1.2 billion, 1-point-something billion Catholics. So that means the majority of Christendom on the planet is in replacement theology. Between that and all the evangelicals now, the mainline denominations have gone into that camp. The second thing about Catholicism we have to understand is they believe in dominionism. They believe that the church we are in the kingdom. The Pope, of course, represents Christ and the head of the church. So that helps us understand the idea of a rebirth Israel, the idea that the rebirth Israel proves that there's prophecy still yet to be fulfilled, completely demoralizes Catholicism and the teachings of the Vatican. That's why the Christian Zionism would be such a threat to them.
Okay, I got another breaking news story here. Can somebody verify this, Logan? Did President Trump really just retweet this? Visgard 24 is reporting that President Trump retweeted or resocialed on his social platform what someone wrote. Someone named Bobby D wrote, so at what point are we going to realize the enemy is within? I agree with that. China and Russia are the boogeymen when the real threat is the UN, NATO, and this religion, around quotes. I put religion in quotes because it's not a religion, it's a cult. Yeah, I went there. Now, President Trump supposedly put this out on Truth Social. And with being confirmed, it really happened. Visgard does very good work, so I usually trust them. I don't think Russia and China and Russia are boogeymen. They have a real agenda, okay? And they're here in the country, and we can't discount one for the other. It's not either or. It can be both at the same time. But who really runs the UN? Largely, it's your Marxist and your Islamist. But isn't this interesting that President Trump just put this out? He clearly is coming after the UN and NATO and trying to reset the whole new world order. Now, again, I'm not saying Donald Trump is the Antichrist, but the Bible says the Antichrist is going to change the times and the laws, right?
Yes, yes.
And I'm not saying Donald Trump's the Antichrist. I do not believe that he is, okay? Let me say that again. I do not believe Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I do not believe that at this time. Maybe I should add that little caveat. But no, I don't think he is. I don't think he will be.
I don't think he is either.
But I do think he is helping to break up the old system for a new system that is coming. And I don't know about you, but I say, hallelujah. Because something is happening on a global scale that seems to me to be lining up for there to be a shout to come up here and we get out of here. In your lifetime, my lifetime, we've never seen the great disruptor of Donald Trump. And you can love him in some areas and question him in some areas and disagree with him in some areas. And I do all those things. But the day he came down the escalator, I sat up with my coffee my wife handed me and she said, what do you think of this? And I said, I love it. Because he's going to be a disruptor. And he's going to disrupt the Republican Party and the George W. Bush and whole Bush clan agenda and the Rockefeller Republican Party. They will not know what to do with him. But I never anticipated him disrupting the world order and bragging about it on the stage at Davos. Now, is this all stagecraft? Is this how they're going to sell it to the world? I think there really is a battle going on. Because we know in the book of Daniel, the Antichrist, whoever that individual comes to be, will have to pull 3 leaders out by the roots. Mm-hmm. So clearly the Bible tells us it's not some kind of crafted game and script that so many people want us to believe. And I get tired of people saying, oh, it's all crafted. I don't believe this. It's all crafted. It's all a game. It's all a play. No, these are people vying for power.
Right.
And at some point, even the Antichrist has to go to war with 3 of them and rip them up by the roots to get what he wants. What do you say about this?
I agree 100%. It is about power. It is the shifting of power. And I just had a cursory read of this Board of Peace and their mission statement and their articles. There's no mention of Gaza. There's no mention of Palestinians. There's no mention of Israel. You're absolutely correct, Brandon. It absolutely looks like they're setting up a new global body, a new global governmental body under the, how ironic that it's under the guise of a Board of Peace.
And what does the Antichrist come as? He comes offering a fake peace.
Peace, false peace, right? Beware of the false peace. When they say peace in safety, then it will come suddenly. Destruction
and then he goes right from peace
suddenly.
to war.
To war.
Because he has to rip out those 3 leaders that won't go along.
Exactly. And remember in the 4 horsemen of the Revelation, right? You have the white horse comes first.
Right.
And then the red horse. And the red horse is what removes peace from the earth, right? Yep. So he comes as peace, and then he's going to remove peace, which then brings death, pestilence, famine, and all the other stuff to other horses. So you're absolutely correct. Donald Trump, again, I agree with you. Donald Trump is not the Antichrist. I think this is too obvious. But certainly the system is being set up rapidly. And where many of us have been frustrated with the UN and the illegitimacy of the UN, including even now with Iran, right? I mean, the UN's been silent, said nothing, they've done nothing. But this is now, I mean, he's asserting himself as a global leader. He's asserting himself as, I'm going to change the world, not just America. And so this is totally different than what people have thought. And spiritually, the spiritual deception goes along with it. I know we're going to talk about the Catholic Church and the Muslims. I mean, that's what we've been warning about for decades now, about the spiritual deception.
But go to that. Go into that. Tell me about that more. What's the latest?
Let's start with the Vatican.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt real quick. We do also have other breaking news real quick here in the last 12 hours. Israel's law banning UNRWA activity. The Israel Land Authority, backed by police, has seized the UN UNRWA building in Jerusalem's neighborhood, the Jerusalem's Malah neighborhood, and they're destroying it. So apparently Donald Trump and Netanyahu are in agreement. We're done with Israel, and we're even going to just start getting rid of all these UNRWA buildings, which I agree with, because we went into all that. So this is all extremely interesting. I can't believe, frankly, that we have the privilege to be newscasters, reporters, preachers, teachers of the Bible, and be on the front line reporting on what the Bible says is coming, and we see the stage being set for it. It's remarkable to be alive right now. What an honor that the Lord's given us to be here to see it and report on it from the scriptures. Now, quickly, not only is the Catholic Church doing this, the Protestant world is doing this, but what's the latest with the Catholic Church and Islam?
Well, most people do not know the language of the Vatican. I'm going to read from Vatican Council papal statements on Islam specifically. This is from Second Vatican Council, Lumen Gentium 16, back in November 21 of 1964. But the plan of salvation also includes those who acknowledge the Creator, the first place among whom are the Muslims. These profess to hold the faith of Abraham, and together with us, they adore the one merciful God, man's judge on the last day. So going back to 1964, the Vatican Council has acknowledged that Muslims are of the plan of salvation. Muslims are of salvation, and Muslims are Abrahamic. This leads to the Abrahamic faith, the deception, and that they are of the one God. So now you fast forward to Brandon 2008, when the Christians signed on to the Common Word document that was authored by the Muslims in 2006. The Vatican is a part of that. 2011, the previous Pope calls for these interfaith Sundays where they're going to open their doors. And ultimately that leads to 2019 when they sign that document on human brotherhood and human fraternity, where Francis kisses the Muslim. And then now they build this Abrahamic faith facility in Abu Dhabi. This is the one world religion, in my opinion, rapidly marching forward. And Catholicism is right in the Catholic Church Vatican is right in the midst of it.
And when we come back, did you know that the U.S. is building a nuclear power plant for Israel, in Israel? A nuclear power plant to help power AI data centers. We'll be right back with a lot more, folks. Don't go away. Take a look at this picture. This is my beautiful wife. Does that look like a grandmother to you? Seriously, does that look like a grandmother to you? Well, she is. I took this picture on August 31st, 2025. Now, you want to know how she stays so young and beautiful looking? Well, I'll tell you right now, she does 3 things for sure. She takes Numi every day that's loaded with glutathione to detox your cells. She also takes Bella Grace each and every day, loaded with 3 powerful ingredients. And she takes Gatatana, 1 scoop, the equivalent of 90 billion plant cells. So you can get all of these products that she and myself take each and every day at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. It's a great way to support your health and also our broadcast network as we continue to push out free Christian worldview programming. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Okay, we are being told by one of the guys that's supposedly close to Netanyahu, he is retweeting. Someone said, Israeli journalist Amit Segal, the guy we've been talking about and quoting here, close to Netanyahu, is saying that the Americans are planning something important. I don't know what the Americans are planning. Do you guys? But it sounds like today it is to reshape the New World Order and to neuter NATO and the United Nations. Maybe that's what President Trump has been doing when it comes to talking about Greenland and Mexico and Canada. Is he's just trying to show that these people are not with us. They don't agree with us on hardly anything. Free speech, freedom of religion. They really are our enemies by and large. And they're globalist. And they only care about using our money to fund everything, putting us into massive debt. And maybe he's laying the foundation for people to just become sick of the old order for a new order. I don't know, but it's moving awfully fast. That's for sure. Let me go back to the data centers. This reporter in Israel, the U.S. is building a nuclear power plant in Israel as part of a broader investment in AI and data centers. But wait, isn't that illegal? After all, Israel isn't part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Well, it's complicated. Israel never signed the treaty, largely because of the sock factory, put that in quotes, it built in Diamana in the 1960s, which it preferred to keep away from international inspectors. So clearly it wasn't about making socks. The new nuclear facility will sit on Israeli soil, but under American sovereignty. Legally, that makes it no different from a reactor in North Carolina, except this American power plant will only power foreign clients, Israel's data centers, something a key node in Washington's emerging Pax Silicon Alliance. What is this alliance? It's the U.S.'s grand plan to secure high-tech manufacturing from chips to AI through a trusted network of partners such as Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Great Britain. I don't know, you shouldn't trust them. And for some reason, Qatar. Well, why would we trust them? Anyway, Israel's place in the network is obvious. Its human capital, technology, expertise, and geographic centrality make it indispensable. The plan calls for Israel to become an AI hub. The problem, Israel's energy poor. As Golda Meir once quipped, Moses led us through the desert for 40 years to bring us to one place in the Middle East without oil. That's pretty cute. While she was slightly off in her criticism of Moses, Israel found major gas reserves in the Mediterranean in 2010, but there's not enough gas to power the scale of AI that Israel is aspiring to. This problem was discussed during Benjamin Netanyahu's meeting with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago in December. Nuclear energy was their solution. Now Israel can finally say it has at least one nuclear reactor, maybe more. Oh, wow. Things are moving so fast, Sharam.
Incredible. That's an incredible aspect of, again, potential prophecy being fulfilled with regard to why. You remember we've asked the question so many times.
Israel's invaded for their treasure?
Exactly. What treasure do they have that they're invaded for in Ezekiel 38 and 39?
Nuclear power, chips.
Nuclear power, chips, AI. If they become the leading AI in the Middle East, maybe in the world. So, yeah, this is very fascinating, very much shifting things. And who would have thought that all this is happening under Donald Trump, who we would have thought would have brought a level of reprieve from the globalist movement. And in some ways, like you said, it does look like it's different, but yet it's still going to move towards the direction that the Bible says it's going to move. And these are exciting days.
All right, now we have that same reporter quoting someone else I follow on social media, Rylan Givens. New revelation. This was back in September, but they're talking about it again, that if Hamas rejects the U.S. deal, the UAE and the U.S. will take control of 80% of Gaza, currently held by the IDF. Tony Blair has proposed to serve as the governor of Gaza, implementing Trump's plan. Remember that we talked about this back in the fall, but they're putting this out there because it seems to be coming to fruition now. This plan aims to isolate the remaining 20% of Gaza that will still be under Hamas control, giving Gazans a choice between better life or worse, one to break Hamas. What we're reading today, to update the story, that Hamas is looking to hop on planes and leave Gaza.
Yeah. Yeah, and guess where they're going to go?
Qatar?
They're going to go to Qatar. Obviously, there's some speculation about Egypt, potentially Turkey, right? If the Turks let them in, they could. Some of them could join Syria if they can get to Syria roundabout and join Jelani's forces. So this is a massive destabilizing movement where it's becoming very clear it's never about the Arabs in Gaza. It's never about the so-called Palestinians. This is strategically about the land and the control. And I think, Brandon, this is setting up, again, the foundation for that Daniel 9 covenant, the board of peace, the peace agreement that Trump signed in Egypt with Qatar, with Erdogan and Turkey, declaring that we have ended 3,000 years of, remember when he did that? 3,000 years, we've ended this feud. It's over, it's done. Wow. I mean, these are historic markers, words that we never thought we would see, certainly not from a U.S. president.
Yeah, and of course, as one of our listeners, Dick out of Michigan, calls in, he just sent me a note. Trump is also bringing the Palantir beast system to the world, starting with Gaza. Yeah, we've been talking about the digital plan they have to make that a smart city.
Yeah, exactly. The not just Gaza, but I suspect that what we've seen with the push towards these Muslim-centric cities, we talked about this earlier last year, that the Muslim-centric cities, that all of a sudden the Islamic movement has this new strategy to build their own cities, I believe those are being greenlit by the globalists in order to be these smart cities, 15-minute cities. Gaza would be a perfect place to implement this and take control over, and then it'll be a launching pad for the rest of the Middle East.
Wow, things are really heating up, aren't they? All right, guys, tilministry.com. tilministry.com is Shahram. And of course, be sure to stay tuned for Crosstalk coming up right now on all of the VCY America stations, plus a bunch more, over 100 in total. If you don't have a terrestrial station that carries it, you can carry it on your devices by going to vcy.org, vcy.org. We'll have more tonight on Bright House Live with Aaron Lavarco on a lot of this. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care. And we're back with Shahram Hadian of tilministry.com. It's moving fast on the stage there at the World Economic Forum. In fact, let me just bring up a clip or two. World Economic Forum.
Did you ever think that Trump could set the stage for the Antichrist?
Not to this degree, no.
I mean, it's crazy. If he's reshaping the entire Middle East. Remember, the Saudis wanted to build smart cities. They were trying to build Neom. It's been a monumental failure from everything that I've read. They've had to shrink it to, a few miles. They were going to do, I think it was going to be 500 miles or something, where it was going to be a huge project. So now they got a perfect place on the Mediterranean coast in Gaza.
And here is, and that's very interesting, isn't it? Right. And here is Lupnick, Secretary of Commerce, I believe, at the World Economic Forum today, saying globalism is dead. And I woke up this morning watching all this, saying, why are they saying this? Now it's making sense. They have a concerted plan, and they're all on their talking points. This old system is done. It's failed. We're sick of the UN. Trump's retweeted this guy saying they're the enemies within, and they've got a new system they're going to put into place, and you can be a permanent member for $1 billion. Here we go.
$1 billion.
Well, I think you should start at a much higher level. Okay? We are in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And the Trump administration and myself, we are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar, you should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries.
Wow. When he says WEF, that's obviously the World Economic Forum, right? So
Right.
he's sitting there trashing the World Economic Forum. And
Correct.
he's saying that if you're going to build alliances, why would you build it with people that don't have your best interest? You better build it with allies. So is Donald Trump doing all of this, poking all of these countries in the face with a sharp stick to try to figure out who wants to be an ally and who wants to be an enemy and cut them out of the fold? And he's building his own new global order with him as the Frank Sinatra, the chairman of the board.
The chairman of the board. And by the way, I was reading the charter and said that he gets to pick the seal. We'll have to see what seal. They're going to have a seal for the Board of Peace that's going to come out. But here's the thing, though, Brand, as I'm listening to this, I'm kind of hearing a dual message, though, because he's talking about America first. The way that, like part of what he's saying, you and I would agree, because our understanding of America first, right? Sovereign borders, sovereign decisions. We're not subject to a global board. We're not subject to the United Nations or global treaties. And yet, that contradicts what the Board of Peace is and what they're trying to do with the Board of Peace, because that's a global institution. The only difference is they're picking their allies, but are their allies going to be all the Muslim world? Is that who the allies is? We come out of the UN and their control, the Islamic control, and we just bring them into the Board of Peace with Turkey and with Qatar and the Saudis. They all put their billions in. And I mean, that's crazy. But yeah, they're trashing the World Economic Forum to their faces.
Which I love.
Yeah,
and Netanyahu says to Turkey, we'll have Turkey, Qatar will have no presence in Gaza. Raises objections with Secretary of State Rubio. It is moving fast, guys. We'll be back tonight with more. Shram is tilministry.com. I think he's going to be with us tonight with Aaron Lavarka, our reporter out of Israel, with all of this breaking news. So be sure to tune in. Until next time, I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff operations officer, assisted the national security team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan, and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Does this image shock you? Well, it should. Because what you're looking at, a radical Islamic reimagining